Acá ya tenemos el mate, vamos a ver vivo con Gedeon Burkhard, actor, director, guionista alemán, como él mismo se lo define, más que nada actor, conocido por, bueno, series de Europa a Europa, no sé si la vieron, la de Comisario Rex, hay otra que se llama Cobra, pero bueno, muchos lo hemos visto internacionalmente por Bastardos sin Glorias, ¿no? En el personaje de Wicki, es que bueno, está en la escena del bar, después le hace traductor a Brad Pitt y va matando gente. Él hizo una película media terror, comedia, media trash, que se llama The Key, que es re bizarra. Bueno, creo que hay todo un género de películas de humor que haces, digo, como en Alemania hay como todo un género de terror, gángster, comedia. Vieron que está todo ese género de gángster tipo Guy Ritchie, que es una onda de acción, pero con comedia y gángsters. Bueno, en Alemania hay como una cosa así del gángster, ¿viste? Pero ellos a veces lo mezclan mucho, o con la comedia, la idea del gánster, digamos, tonto, con la idea del terror, ¿no? Como es el caso esta de aquí. Siempre tienen como un sentido del humor muy particular. Un poco vamos a hablar con Gideon sobre el tema. Vamos a ver si se puede unir porque nunca había hecho un vivo por Instagram. Entonces recién le estaba dando las instrucciones para ver si... a ver cómo podemos hacer. ¿Cómo va, gente? ¿Todo bien? Hi, how are you? For those who speak English, we're going to speak in English, of course. I don't speak Sherman. ¿Cómo es? Ich nein spreche Deutsch. English. Bueno, pero ahora voy hablando castellano. Voy a ver dónde está, a ver si ya se nos puede... Ahí está, ahora recién le escribí ahí que estaba buscando buena. Recién me comentaba. Oui, je parle français, Diego. On va faire live en Instagram en français. Así que, no, me preguntaba si hablo francés. Sí, sí, hablo francés y puedo tener, digamos, una conversación con alguien en francés. Puedo hacer una entrevista, no tendría problema en inglés, en francés, en español. En ruso todavía no me animo, pero ya, a ver, voy a ver si lo puedo localizar a ver si está. ¿Cómo va? ¿Cómo va? Disculpe, hasta ahí, a ver si podemos hacer. Ahí está, a ver. Ah, acá está. Ver. Ya está, vamos a transmitir con Gideon. Ahí está. Y vamos. Ahí está, yes.
Oh,
Gideon, hi.
walking through the woods trying to find reception, you know?
Oh, great, great. It's really nice talking to you. Now, I'm glad it's summer there, right?
Yeah, it's really hot. So I went to the lake and, of course, realized that right by the lake, the reception is not good enough for this.
Well, here is winter, so yes, I didn't understand why you were so relaxed because here is really, really cold in Buenos Aires. We are freezing to death here.
Sorry to hear that, but, you know, I do like the seasons. Not everybody. Some people love when I lived in LA and you always have kind of summer, but I like the seasons. I like enjoying the summer after the winter and vice versa.
Mm. Yes, because I was checking that you work in LA for a long time, a long period of your life. That's true. What happened there? Because you live between Germany and the States.
Well, it was a long time. It's relative. 4 years about. I lived in Los Angeles. Well, that was a time where, you know, Germany was still split up and there wasn't like a city. Berlin wasn't like it is now, that all the creative people kind of lived there and could connect and you could talk to each other and do projects together. People were all spread out in Germany in different cities, and we just kind of met when we were working on a film or something. And unless you were in a theater community, there wasn't much to to connect to other actors or creative people and to keep going even if you're not directly working on a project. And in LA, of course, I found that just by chance. I was there and stayed with some friends and realized that that is actually where I wanted to be while I'm not working directly on a film or a project, and moved there and then ended up staying 4 years or something.
Wow. And tell me something. When let's start from the beginning, as we usually do. You were little. When did you decide to become an actor? I know you start acting very young. I found footage of you like in movies very, very young. So I'm guessing it was something that, start from very little.
I did my first movie when I was 10 years old. And
wow.
I wanted to be an actor. I decided that I wanted to be an actor when I was 8. And that actually didn't change. It stayed for 2 years. My parents were quite surprised because usually, it's like, I want to be an actor. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman, cowboy. But with me, it was always, no, the acting thing kind of stuck. And when I was 10, I got the chance through a family friend. They were making a movie where they were looking for a 10-year-old boy. And so, of course, they were auditioning. And she said, well, why don't you go try out? You want to be an actor? That's how you do it. And so I got the audition, got the part, and then kind of that was that.
And what about in your family? There is another artist, like actors, writers, paintings. There is an influence in the family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on my mother's side. It's been people in that line of work for generations. My one great grandfather was an actor, very famous actor, theater actor, of course, mainly. I think there's like 2 or 3 little pieces of on film of him, but it was basically the pre-film era. And my other great grandfather was a playwright who wrote plays and did quite well in Germany. And my grandmother was a dancer when she was very young, ballet, and then later also was working in theater, did a little bit of directing. And my grandfather produced some movies. He was good friends with Billy Wilder. And and later on in life, he basically retired to what we have in Germany. I don't know if you have that, dubbing. He had a dubbing company when we translate, English, Argentinian movies, whatever, into German for people who don't want to watch with subtitles. That's a very large industry over here.
Wow, you mentioned Billy Wilder. My God, you are really connected with the industry, the art.
Well, it's been nothing that was all, so long ago. It's just kind of stories I knew. And by the time I was in LA, I think Billy Wilder was dead or so old, but my grandfather was dead. So there was nobody to make the connection anymore, kind of. But, you have it in the history. My forefathers also all dabbled in, these different, yeah. It's in the blood.
And,
genes, I don't know.
Yeah. Clearly. What about when you start acting? Where there was the big breakthrough in in your beginning? Like when you say, well, okay, it was this movie, this opportunity that you say everything changed and you start acting more and more often.
The biggest change for me, wow, oh God, it's difficult to say, but when I did a television series called Detective Rex, that was, of course, something that made me much more famous than I was before. It really made me a kind of household name over here, and then also went all around the world. But there was a movie before, which was something that was one of the first movies which they called like the new wave of German film, which were a bit lighter, entertaining, which was made by a very successful German director called Sönke Wortmann. And we got some film awards for that. And that kind of, it was a motion picture, and that also started something, or really started me as an actor, as a grown-up, which is also, you have to change at some point from being, a kid actor, grown-up actor.
And talking about, well, Billy Wilder and the Key, that's your movie you wrote and direct. Have you done some literature? Have you write from the beginning? Have you write stories? Have you explored that part of the art besides the acting?
No, I also have to say the key was the first draft was written by Olaf Ittenbach, who is a German writer director who made quite a few splatter movies, a few of them quite successful. Since I don't really watch horror because I don't like to feel scared, I can't know how they are. But he started with very budget stuff, made the makeup pieces himself, was very into that, and started making small, bigger and bigger, and but he'd written the first draft of the script. It was quite different. It wasn't what it is now. Is not quite as much of a genre mix and all that, but that was the backbone of the key. And then I worked. It was also in German, and they wanted to make it in English, and so then I went on to major rewrite. But it is not an original story by me. I cannot claim that. I haven't written anything other than scripts. I always write in script form. But that's since a kid, that's what I love. That's my passion. So if I'm going to do the work of sitting down, I find the most tedious part of the process, then it's going to be for a film.
And tell me, what kind of stories do you like? I mean, because horror, you don't have to be scared, but you recommend a sci-fi comedy movie. I have noticed that there are a lot of German movie about gangsters, like comedy gangster action movie, something German, right? That
I don't know if it's really such a German thing. I'm guessing that's more the influence, of people like Tarantino, that really just opened up other genres, and the Germans love their crime stories. But the movies you're referring to, if it then really is genre type, I'm guessing that is more influenced by what has been happening for 15, 20 years. But that's not something that was always around, that you had like gangster comedies or stuff like that. That's a newer thing. Well, newer, but yeah.
And what kind
the majority are comedies.
And what kind of stories do you like personally? Like say, because you recommend the sci-fi, and you say there's some you love that story. Why? Why the snowflake story? Why did you love that?
Well, it's not really sci-fi, but it plays in the near future, and it's more in a utopia type situation, and then the characters are real life gangsters, killers, but some of them are slash superheroes. There's Electro Man, but he works with a battery. It's not like a Marvel Superman. They're like real life guys, good, bad, fighting against each other, and but what I love about that script is the twist of the story, because at some point the main characters stumble upon a script, and while they're reading it, they're reading what they're saying, and it's basically telling their life, and then they try to figure out what the fuck is going on, and that is really it is incredibly funny, clever, witty, and also a good story that has everything from God showing up to to Electro Man. So yeah, it's a fun ride, and the guys who made it, the director Adolfo Kolmerer, he's gone on to make quite a big career. Arendt, who made it from stuff to next level, and they've all been working since then. Great stuff, and I was lucky enough to be a little part of that beginning, kind of.
I will recommend it. I will try to contact the directors, because the idea is to do this exchange, like people in Latin America start, discovering the German. What kind of German films can you recommend? I mean, you have been in a lot of German films.
Well, a lot, but yeah, I'm able to pay my rent up to now. But what would I recommend? I don't know, but I loved. It's called Gegen die Wand, which was more a social drama, which also had to do with our Turkish immigrants and their situation within Germany, and a lot of problems of women within their culture, and it's a very dirty, gritty story, but brilliant. But I mean that I think was internationally on the independent circuit. It was quite successful. But one has to keep watching, but most of the stuff that is actually successful here or that plays in the movie theaters is usually not the stuff that I love to watch. But every now and then somebody comes up with something new, and I'm more into, what the young people are doing and trying to do, because it's hard to do genre in Germany. It's hard to get it financed.
Mm. And tell me, well, a lot of people ask me to ask you this. How did you meet Tarantino? How did you end up in Inglourious Basterds?
Ah, well, a little bit of a longer story. When I was shooting the series I mentioned before, Detective Rex, which was shot in Vienna in Austria, my then girlfriend, who I'd met in Los Angeles, who was a film editor, she was actually friends with Quentin, and I came home from a night shoot and threw down my bag and was kind of loud, slammed the door or something. And she comes running towards me and says, "Shh, Quentin's asleep on the couch." I'm like, "Who the fuck is asleep on the couch?" "Quentin Tarantino." I'm like, hey, I was like, "Ah, yeah, that, him." It was, it was just kind of came out of completely left field. And I went to bed and got up, and there he was, and he was hanging around because he was actually came from Amsterdam, where he wanted to go and write his next script. But after the success of Pulp Fiction and, the whole legacy of him having written it there and all that, while he was in Amsterdam trying to write, every time he left the hotel, there were like these burly guys outside looking like gangsters who kind of said, "Come with us. There's an invitation." He obviously couldn't turn down and had to go meet, people in Amsterdam who were obviously criminals or something, who wanted to. And so it was a bit stressful. He couldn't relax. He couldn't write. And so he called people he knew in Europe, amongst them my then girlfriend, and ended up coming to Vienna. And then he stayed. He wanted to stay a week or something. He was there for like 2-3 weeks. And we just met socially, basically. And, of course, talked a lot about film and had fun times and had to go on the Autobahn and drive fast with a car and do all these things you do. But that's how we met. And a few years later, he told me that he was writing this film, guys, Second World War, Bastards, and he was writing this part of a translator where he had me in mind because he knew that I spoke German and English perfectly. And then I never heard anything again for 10 years because the script went some shelf, and then he picked it up and then rewrote it. And basically, at that point, he came up with the whole Shoshana story. So before, I think it was just the guys. I would have probably had a bigger part in the old version, but I think the version made the far interesting and better movie. And that's how I got to play Will Wicki. Yeah.
And did you know the other German actors who participate in the movie before or the shooting?
Yeah, of course. Till, who's probably one of our biggest stars, or has been for a long time here. Till Schweiger, we'd met, of course, many years before when we were both young actors, and all the others too. Of course, I mean the scene is not that big in Germany, so we'd all at some point. So we all knew each other. Daniel, I'd met Daniel before, and Augustil, and so yeah, we knew each other.
And how was the experience? Because now we were all in a Tarantino movie. I heard he has very strict, rules in the set during the shooting. That you cannot sleep, you cannot use a cell phone.
Well, you can sleep, but when you do sleep, he has this ritual that the camera assistant, Bob's camera assistant, third camera assistant, the loader, basically, a young girl. At some point they came up with the idea, when they came to the town where they were shooting, she was sent out to the nearest sex shop and had to buy the biggest dildo she could find. And anybody who falls asleep, who gets caught, then it was always like, quick, that one has to go get this huge dildo, and then it gets put in front of your face, like this, and then there's a photo taken, and then there's a wall of shame somewhere, and then you get put up on the wall. Sleeping on set. So yeah, he has all these different rituals which actually make shooting incredibly fun. His sound man has 2 huge speakers with his sound system, with his recording system, and in between takes, if it's a longer light change or something, or reset, then Quentin says, play some music, and they've always talked about before, it's always music that fits what we're shooting or what we're doing, but usually always a film reference, usually film music. And it's also how he does his slates, because his slates he does in a way that they're always amusing for his editor. So there's always a reference to movies or to actors or to something that he and her know. So yeah, he has all sorts of rituals, and at least once a week the whole team comes together and watches a movie that he's chosen, and then he talks about the movie about 15-20 minutes before, which is usually even more entertaining than the movie. And then once a week, at least, if not twice a week, one has to all go out together and grab drinks. And so yeah, it's really a family affair.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that there is like a it's like a big family. They start building this good vibe atmosphere, and then in the end of the shooting, there's like a big party and something. They all get wasted or something. Something someone told me.
But I mean, isn't that everywhere? Everywhere I've been and I've worked everywhere in the world, when we were done shooting, there was always a big party.
Tell me, have you thought about working outside Germany, like or outside the United States, for example, in Asia, Latin America? I'm telling you this because a lot of directors here ask me if you would be interested at some point to do a film in Latin America or in Spanish. I don't know.
Anywhere. I just love making movies. So anybody who asks me, I don't care where they are, I'll come. Yeah, anytime.
Oh, very good.
I've shot all around the world. I was quite lucky when I was younger. I got to shoot. I was in New Zealand for 6.5 months shooting some television series, The New Adventures of Black Beauty, and yeah, I've gotten around through work, and I love that, because you don't go as a tourist. When you arrive, you're automatically within this work family that you get integrated, and so you meet a new culture, you meet new people, you see a new country, a new city, whatever, but always as a working person. So it's you enter the whole thing in a different way than even if you go for a month as a tourist. It's something else than if you get thrown into a community of people who live there or who have also come from somewhere else, because yeah, you're not alone. You're straight away with a whole group of people.
And where did you have an amusing or your best experience in filming? In which country, in which movie that you say, "Oh my God, I really have a great time"?
Well, that's really hard. I've on most of them. It's just I love that. I like movies. If they're successful, and when they're done, and if I like it, I enjoy it more than if I don't like it. But at the end of the day, something that Brad Pitt also said to me after I asked him in Cannes after the screening, what did you think? He said, "Oh yeah, wonderful." But he said, "For me, it's really more about the making the movies," and he's right. It's the creating the moments on set, those few seconds or minutes that the camera is actually rolling. I don't know, that's the best. Everything else is an aftermath, and either way, you had the joy of creating it. However it turns out, nobody can take away the time you had while you were making it.
And how did you end up in the key working with Claudius? And why did you? I mean, you don't like horror, but you end up in a horror kind of, gangster. I know how to define. It's a very bizarre film. I loved it because it's so bizarre. I mean, really, it's different to define as a genre. So, how did you end up there?
Well, actually, a few years earlier, oh, look, there's a dog coming by. A few years earlier, I had hooked up with Claudius because he helped me calculate special effects for a short film shoot, or it was a script I wrote called Jack and Jack, about a split personality character. And I wanted to shoot a bigger scene, which happens in the middle of the movie, and just kind of shoot that as a teaser, and also for me as training, just to try it out. It was really the first thing I directed, and I basically produced it by myself and directed it and put it all together. So it was like my film school. And and Claudius helped me with that, with you know what would something cost, and then also calculating what the FX would cost for the whole script, and that's how we met. And then he suddenly called me up and said, you know, I'm making this low budget horror movie, splatter movie, and would you maybe want to act in it? And I said, well, send it over. And I read that first draft, and I said, is that what we're shooting? He said, no, no, no. The script is still being rewritten or finalized, and I said, yeah, absolutely. I have nothing else to do. I'm game. And then the whole thing developed, basically that suddenly they decided they would like to shoot it in English. And then it was about finding English-speaking actors in Germany or in Berlin, and then translating some scenes to just to have something for the auditions. And so I ended up helping them out and doing that. And then we got close to that. We wanted to do the first block of shooting. We'd split it up, and they had somebody translate the script, and nobody was happy. And then I was like, okay, fuck it, come on, I'll do it. And that's how I kind of slid into writing and rewriting the script, and you know, converting it into English, and then it all grew. And then, you know, it got to the point that suddenly I wasn't only asked if I wanted to act in it. Suddenly it was Claudia was like, do you want to direct it? And I was like, fuck yeah. And that's how that kind of happened.
And how was your, you know, your debut as a director? Did you feel comfortable in that new role because it was your first time? And maybe how did you feel directing?
I felt totally at home right away.
Oh.
Actually, I realized that once I grow up, that's what I want to be. That you know, acting was kind of a thing that I fell into and always did, but that is a bug I caught really badly. Yeah, no, I love that. I love working with actors. We had a wonderful time. Of course, so having been an actor so long, I do speak their language. I do understand certain sensibilities. I understand the insecurities. So working with actors, of course, was very easy right off the bat. And if you're working low budget, you know, you're just working. You don't even think about it. And I was also, you know, acting in it. I had no time to go back to the monitor to check my shots because we just didn't have the time. And so I had no time to think about it. It was just doing from morning to night all the time. And it was, I don't know, greatest time of my life. I didn't start working constantly for at least 2 years because, you know, did all the post-production. I had to edit it myself. We didn't have the money. I had to learn how to use an Avid by watching YouTube videos. And it was great. It was a great experience.
Something I talked with a producer from LA, it's that the horror low budget films, it's more about the filmmaking that the movie itself. You enjoy it more, as you say, especially you enjoy a lot doing this kind of films because you have fun. Also the makeup thing. I have actors here in Argentina that they enjoy, you know, wearing these guys is so complicated. Actually, you wear all makeup. So how was that experience?
Well, great, but I mean, my character really had the least of all that makeup stuff. But we had like our producers in the movie, Claudius. He plays one of the monsters, and he had these the contact lenses that are, you know, the whole eye, and they're black. I mean, you basically can barely see anything, and they're not nice to put in. And we had like stuntmen who were also playing parts, and there were some of them who just couldn't get those things into their eyes, and Claudius just popped them in, had them in for hours, you know, and we poured blood everywhere, and it got into your eyes, you know, doing all the stuff you're probably not supposed to do. But but it was good fun, you know, makeup. I had my daughter in it, you know, hacking up my daughter with a machete because it was easiest, because trying to explain that to other parents what you're going to do to their child in front of the camera, it was easier to just use my own. Yeah, but it was really a wonderful, entertaining playground, because, like you said, it wasn't just a drama, which is great fun too. But of course, all these things like the action we did on a low budget movie, doing that type of action, because that is where Claudius comes from, from the special effects side. And buddies of his, who also co-produced the movie and invested in the movie, they owned one of the largest special effects companies in Berlin. And so we had the possibility to do stuff that you usually can't do on a low budget movie, and blowing up cars and stuff like that on your first movie. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it's always fun to blow up things. I mean, it's kind of you need like permissions or something. It's kind of it's difficult to work with these kind of effects of explosion because it was your first time.
Well, but I had, incredible professionals behind me, setting all that up, and Claudius was a fantastic producer. We could do all that stuff and all that stunt stuff because he'd found a company that let us work on their land, and they basically have from the official road, they have a 2.5 kilometer road on private land leading to their factory. Wow. And there we could, shoot all night. We could blow up cars. We could do anything because we didn't even have to close down the street, because it was a normal looking street, but it was actually a private street. There was no traffic on it. And so no, Claudius really did an amazing job and really gave me all the possibilities. I think if I ever get to do a larger budget movie, I'm probably not going to have the same freedom or possibilities as I had on that movie. I'm always going to cherish that work experience, because I don't think I will ever have that freedom again in my life.
And tell me, are you planning to do another one with Claudius? Can you, I don't know, a horror, sci-fi, comedy, or?
Well, we had talked in the meantime again and again about all sorts of projects, but really, we really had the problem that this movie, The Key, just the first distributor where we had the movie, mistakes were made, and suddenly the movie, was basically on a shelf. These stories that low budget movie makers all have to tell. And then Claudius had to get it back out, and then it just really took a long time to kind of get the movie out there at all. And right now, the whole thing basically got momentum, 2-3 years later, because a new distributor just said, you know what, we're going to put it on YouTube. We're going to put it out there that at least people see it. And since then, people came in who were interested. Now we've sold, I think, the first 2-3 territories, and keeping our fingers crossed that it might be a few more that, Claudius can make a little bit of the money back, even if it's years later. But so, one has to kind of digest also experience like that, but I think Claudius, the last time we talked, it sounded like he's ready to take up the challenge again, to maybe work on the next project. Yeah. I hope that happens.
No, don't worry, we will help you to spread the movie here, because now we are talking with people in Spain and United States, so everybody can see it, and then you can do your next movie. Okay. We will recommend. Don't worry.
Thank you.
And tell me, do you have other passions? For example, because a lot of friends of mine, they also are involved in music, like they have a band at the same time. That's your case? Are you interested in music?
I wish. The tragedy of my life is that I am absolutely tone deaf, because of course what I really want to be is a pop star or a rock star. But here I am. But no, sadly, I can't sing. The most involvement I really had with music or creating music was also on The Key, because having used a lot of temp music that we had no money for, we then started playing around. How could we do it? How can we get good music and it being cheap, and actually maybe recreate a style of music that we were using as temp music, and then we just got this really great musician in who came with his keyboard where he had all the sounds of the world on there. and then we just started recreating certain things, created some things new. Claudius, our producer, he's a very talented guitarist. He then played the guitar number that I'd used as temp music as something very similar. But he then, improvised and basically was sitting there in the studio with his guitar, and then played that guitar piece, which is on that little Western standoff scene between the monster and the gangster, where we did that short homage to the classic Western standoff. And that guitar music is actually played by Claudius. But sitting there and working with that musician, that was the closest I ever got to making music.
Because I was asking you because in German, well, techno music is very famous. The thing I love the most about German music are two bands. One is the Tottenhausen, and because they are very famous here in Argentina, actually they speak Spanish. They come here all the time, actually, because they have friends here. And Rammstein, that I know you don't like. In Germany, they have no many fans in Germany, but here in
I love Rammstein. I was at Rammstein's last concert here in Berlin in the Olympic Stadium. That was so magnificent, unbelievable. And I've also had the chance to once or twice run into Till and kind of say hello, but just being in his presence, I'm in complete awe of the man. I think he's a poet. I mean, his lyrics are amazing. I love him. He's such a strange, wonderful man.
Yeah, no, I remember the first video I saw from Rammstein was Du Riechst So Gut. It was from '95. I was little. I had the CD. A friend of mine downloaded from a computer, and we used to see it. It was amazing. I mean, and then I started following. Here in Latin America, they are really big, especially in Mexico. And they came here, I think, the first time they were not officially as the band. They came with Kiss, because Kiss was like the main group. And the back it was Rammstein. I wanted to see Rammstein, not Kiss. So, but they were like introducing. So no, but I really I have a lot of friends that love Rammstein. Actually, my brother he plays the guitar. He knows by heart the memory, by heart the On a Dish, the song On a Dish. That he knows that, but he doesn't understand the lyric because he doesn't speak German, but he knows how to say it phonetically. So yeah, I hope they came. I don't know yet. Because they did a Spanish theme, Te Quiero Puta. They did a song in Spanish. I don't know if you heard.
I'm not sure. They've done all sorts of different versions of stuff. I mean, they've done so much. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I really met a few people here in Berlin, like out in nightlife, young people. And it suddenly turns out that they fell in love with Germany and the language through Rammstein, and basically learned their German because of Rammstein. And I always thought, so fantastic. So I think Rammstein has done a lot for Germany, for the German language and German culture.
Yes. No, I actually the few words I speak in German, it's for Rammstein. Mostly they are not good words. I can say sentences, but the lyrics are very strong because I start translate and say, oh my God, I love the lyrics. And in German, it has this as a sound. This sounds so vivid. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. Well, both band and They have a tour lined up, so hopefully, everything will start again soon, and we can meet at a Rammstein concert. We'll just put it out there.
And tell me, so you have the chance to talk with Till, with Tinderman, and all the guys from Rammstein. Do you know?
No, I only was at one party where Till was also, and said hi, and just basically said this. I am in awe. I was being a fanboy, and then I up again at another party, which was a private party in a club in Berlin, a Kit Kat club. It's like a tiki club. And there was a party there of a very famous violinist, and he did a birthday party there, a little part of that club, and Till was there. and so yeah, and I saw him at some other party, but it was really, you know, it was more like I was there and he was there, but you know, I've exchanged, like, you know, 5 seconds with him, so I have, I know that would be overstating.
Okay, when you do your next movie with Claudius, please tell the guys from Rammstein to do the soundtrack. That would be amazing. That would be super cool.
I doubt that they would, but actually, the actor who plays my father in The Key, he is really very, very, very good friends with Till, because his stepdaughter was Till's girlfriend for I think quite a few years, and Sven Martinek, he's really, really good friends with him. So we would have an in, but I don't think that that's going to help. But it's know him when they do make a concert to get some tickets, because I mean, you know, they're sold out in 3.5 minutes or something. So I'm already happy to just have that in, that I can have a ticket if they're doing it. You know?
Oh, I always ask this question to all the people that we talk to in these lives. How would you like to be remembered?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have that legacy thing, you know. I love life. I'm really happy every day I wake up and I'm still around. And you know, once I'm gone, I'm gone. Who gives a flying fuck, you know? And even if people would, if you have a legacy, people remember you for 50 years, for 100 years, for 500 years. Well, at some point, people are going to forget whoever you were. I don't know. I feeling we take those things too serious, because of course we want to leave something that stays, because yeah, we don't want to die. But I think I want to be remembered by my daughter, and then hopefully if she has kids, by them. You know, that'd be enough for me.
Okay, Gideon, thank you very much for this chat. I will try to contact you and send you some films from Argentina, and we hope after this pandemic or whatever, you can come to Argentina. You have a place to stay here, please, in Argentina. I will introduce you, because here there are very talented directors also, so they would love to have you in their films or short films or whatever.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Really, it was really wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you guys liked the movie, and yeah, let's see where everything goes. Keep on fighting. Keep on making movies. Keep creating. Whatever, you know.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Bye, people.
Bye.
Bye, bye.